Hello and welcome to another video on the D-110. Tonight we're showing you how to restore one of the internal tones to its factory default if it has gotten damaged or changed. Many people are buying older units on the second-hand market and they would like to restore some of the internal tones to their factory defaults. There are several ways to do this. You can download a file via the SysX, MIDI SysX into the unit, or you can enter a tone through the front panel if you know what the parameters are. When I purchased the unit, I recorded all of the parameters, and tonight we're going to show you how to find all of them to put them back in. One of the benefits of this unit is that it does not have either very many tones or very many parameters. So it's much easier to manage without a computer through the front panel switches. You cannot edit a tone directly. You have to edit a tone through a part and through a timbre attached to that part. Press the timbre button. What we're seeing now is the tone that's assigned to the timbre for part 1. Now that's shown here. What's shown here in the right here is the patch that's associated with all of this. But if we press edit, it changes, and now we have the capability of editing this timbre. We're in the timbre edit mode, and what you see up here in the upper right is the actual tone number itself. Now the I means that it's internal, and the 1 means that it's the first tone, touch piano. So we're now going to carry it by using the value number button. We are going to carry it to the 64th or last one. To edit a tone, the next step now is to press edit again, and now it says tone edit, and we're in the common block part button. Allows you to change the 4 partials and the name. Now for each of those, you have here another button that will carry you through a number of parameters. In the case of the common block, it's the structure, the partial mute, the envelope mode. Those are the things you can possibly change, and the name. If you put it in the partial 1, this button then becomes all the various blocks within partial 1 that you can change, which would be the time varying amplitude thing, amplifier, the filter, and the LFO, and the envelope, and the wave generator. So those are all the things that are associated with each of the partials. So to change each partial, each separate partial has those block parameters associated with it. So you have to change the partial number using the part, you change the block here, you change the parameter within the block here, and finally you change the value of the parameter. This is why we have the 4 arrows and we have 8 buttons, up and down, up and down, up and down, to make for fast setting of the partial parameters as shown in the table. To rename your tone with tone edit common up here, you move the cursor underneath the letter. I don't know if you can see that there in the display. The cursor is moving underneath the letter with this one. And this one here, the value number, changes the letters, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that the second letter there in C sure is being changed. So what have we got under the common block? We have name, structure 1 and 2, structure 3 and 4, partial mute, and envelope mode. So you can set the envelope mode to normal or no sustain. Now those are the two choices that you have there. We have it set to normal. In the case of the partial mute, you have 4 little ones listed. Now that means that all 4 partials are active. You use this arrow button here now to once again, just like with the name, move the cursor under there, and you use this one to turn them on or off. So they're all 4 on, turn it off, turn it off. After we finish with the parameters in the common block, we go here to the partial 1. And all 4 of them, whether we're dealing with partial 1, partial 2, partial 3 or partial 4, have the same possibilities. So you have to set all 4 up if you're actively using all 4 partials. And the first thing that we have is the wave generator. And when we have the wave generator selected, we have a number of parameters associated with that. Pitch coarse, pitch fine, key follow, bender switch, waveform, PCM bank, pulse width velocity. So it's a lot of parameters associated with the wave generator. Then if we want to switch from the wave generator to the pitch envelope, we have the usual parameters associated with synthesizers when we're interested in dealing with the pitch envelope. We have depth, velocity, time, key follow, T1, T2, T3 and T4, L1, L2 and sustain. So those T1s are the envelope generator. Notice it says pitch envelope here. So we have an envelope generator that has a waveform similar to how we have with analog and all analog and digital synths. And then when we're tired of changing those parameters, we come here again and we press the pitch LFO. And now we have parameters like what you would expect. The rate and the depth and the modulation. So you have rate, depth and modulation for your pitch. And you can set the value using the value parameter. And then you come again and you change to the next one. Now this is TVF, which is basically just your filter we call time varying filter. Now we don't need to deal with a time varying filter because we only deal with that when we're using waveforms. If we're using samples, PCM samples, then the filter is completely deactivated. In this particular tone, it's a sample based tone, so no matter what I set here in the filter, it's not going to make any difference. However, if you were using the sine or square wave, the time varying filter has frequency, resonance, and key follow, and a pitch bias, and the bias level. And you can change those with the value button. So once again, you just follow that diagram that I've given you for the tone in a methodical manner, and you can change the parameters. It's easy because once you're in the tone edit mode, you're dealing with common or partials. This is what selects the broad category or block category. This is what selects the particular parameter, whether you're dealing with the wave generator, the filter, or the amplitude, called voltage control amplifier. VCA is what we would call it. They call it a TVA, or time varying amplifier. And then over here we have the particular parameter, like if we were dealing with an envelope generator, a pitch or filter or amplitude envelope, then we would change the parameters here. And the parameters, of course, would be various parts of your waveform, which would be the ADSR when you're dealing with analog. In this particular case, it's called time 1 and L1. So you have T1, 2, and 3 because they have very complex envelope generators, unlike the simple ADSR on my analog synth. And then finally over here, the last one changes the value. So if we have it set, say, to time, whereas I would twiddle a knob for a tap time on my analog synth, now I go up and down here to select a digital value from 0 to 64 or 0 to 127. Let's exit and come out of that here. Back to our patch screen, okay? Now, we have a certain amount of information on our screen here, and we can see that this big star here between the P and the I13 means that I've edited it and not saved it. Otherwise it would have a dash. So anytime you see that asterisk in there, you have edited and changed the parameters and they're not saved. Thanks for watching the Stephen Mendes channel, and I'll see you in the next video.